good afternoon, and thank all of you, the members of the media, for being here. I also want to thank you for the coverage you provided to this date for as Chatham County citizens are concerned. I think you're providing a real service. You're reaching a lot more people than we would be reaching with our Facebook account or website or any other form of communication, and we thank you for that. We want to just briefly talk about the status of where we're at. I'm sure all of you have looked at the 11 o'clock forecast. The storm is pretty much on track. Most of the predictors are in agreement. It will be off the coast of Georgia and roughly in the next 36 hours, which is a very dangerous time for us. No one can predict whether or not that storm will just stall off the coast of Georgia and whether or not it drifts to the left, which would be the worst case for Chatham County. The governor has already evacuated everybody off the barrier islands and low-lying areas. I'm being asked whether or not we're going to move people west of 95. At this time, we're not planning to, unless something changes. We are still in a hurricane watch. We're in a tropical storm warning. If for some reason that storm shifts and we move into a hurricane warning, we would consider then moving folk east, well, west of 95. But at this time, we're not planning to pull that trigger. I would say to folk out there, though, if your streets, homes, flooded during Matthew, you pretty much expect that they're going to flood during Dorian, and you are encouraged to leave. And I also want to reemphasize and encourage what Governor Kemp said. If you're in one of the barrier islands, such as Tybee, low-lying areas, we have some of those on Wilmington Island and Burnside Island and other places throughout the county. We encourage you to leave. And for those who are not leaving, we encourage you to be prepared to leave. And if you're not leaving, you need to be prepared to be alone. In the event that bridges and roadways are flooded or either closed to some of the barrier islands, we will not be able to come in to effect a rescue. And even wind conditions and tropical storm will prevent even helicopters from being able to get to you until the wind is subsided. And Dennis is going to talk about more of the details. All have put out something. The bridge is closing at, the Savannah, South Carolina bridge. I don't use the T word for that bridge. Will be closing at 8 o'clock tonight, so folk who are from the South Carolina area will have to use 95 in which to get home. That's important because we have a lot of folk who are in South Carolina who work or in Savannah for various reasons, be there law enforcement or others. And with that said, I'll be happy to entertain any questions. If not, I'm going to turn it over to Dennis. We also are going to hear from the sheriff in reference to the Chatham County Detention Center, and we'll hear from some of the mayors who want to advise folk about their facilities and sandbags and other preparations that are available in the various municipalities. And I'm certain that the mayor of Savannah wants to speak to the fact that they have imposed a curfew and talk about that. Are there any questions for me? Okay, Dennis?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of the more specific, most recent significant issues with Hurricane Dorian. We are under, as the chairman mentioned, we are under a tropical storm warning, a hurricane watch, and a storm surge warning. The current tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 175 miles from the center of circulation. They are expecting the wind field to expand, so the storm is expected to grow in size. The center of circulation is currently forecast to be about 80 miles off of our shore. Tropical storm force winds are projected to pass through Chatham County sometime Wednesday and into Thursday. Rainfall and flooding with inundation feet 3 feet or higher above ground is expected. We could have upwards of 4 to 7 feet of storm surge. The high tide sequence is also significant for us. We're looking at a high tide about over 11 feet over 2 different tide periods. One of them is 1 o'clock tomorrow. The other one is going to be 1 a.m. on Thursday. The evacuation assembly area is going to close today at 6 p.m. So if you have any interest in seeking transportation resources out of the county, you need to get to the Civic Center before 6 p.m. tonight. It will not be open tomorrow. So the evacuation assembly area will close at 6 p.m. tonight, and it will not be open tomorrow. Through the evacuation assembly area, we've processed so far 367 people. We've put them on buses, and we've moved them to a shelter location inland. Efforts will continue throughout the day, and again, if you have an interest in doing that, you need to be at the Civic Center no later than 6 p.m. If you get on any CAT bus, it'll take you to the Civic Center, and you can get safe transportation to an inland shelter. There are a list of shelters that are open throughout the state of Georgia. Those are on the state's website. You can go to georgia.ga.gov, and you can see a list of shelters that are open throughout the state. I-16 has been contraflowed. It's ongoing. It started at 8 a.m. this morning. We're not aware of any significant issues with the contraflow. Everything seems to be flowing smoothly, and that contraflow is in effect all the way through exit 43. The Hurricane Registry for functional access and medical needs, we moved 63 people, functional access and medical needs, through the process yesterday. We are still moving medical needs patients today. We're working with the state on moving those residents, and they're still working on doing that throughout the day. Hospitals and urgent care, Candler, St. Joe, and Memorial are sheltering in place and have canceled scheduled surgeries and outpatient procedures beginning today through Thursday. Animal services have been evacuated. They've been evacuating animals throughout the day to animal shelters, and they're also looking at foster care groups and other rescue groups. Animal services is meeting with evacuees, and they really haven't had many pets to be evacuated through the evacuation assembly area. Mayor Bulterman from Tybee Island asked me to read a statement on his behalf. Despite the forecasts that have taken Tybee out of the cone of uncertainty, we are being advised by the National Weather Service that we will experience impacts from this storm to include sustained tropical storm force winds and 4 to 7 foot of storm surge. If this forecast is accurate, Highway 80 will be shut down due to high water starting with Wednesday high tide cycle. Also, emergency responders do not respond to 911 calls when winds reach tropical storm force. Also, we've coordinated with Georgia Power. The Georgia Power Storm Center is open and monitoring. They have large crews from Atlanta. They arrived in Savannah yesterday. They've also got partners through Alabama, Mississippi, being prepared to respond if they need to. Their staging areas are ready. They have extra transformers in place, poles, and wires. That's it for the storm specifics. I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff John Wilcher and allow him an opportunity to talk about the jails.
Thank you, Dennis. Just to put the people's at mind's rest that have loved ones in my jail, they're going to be well taken care of. I have doubled up my staff, brought all my people in. They're on a 24-hour-a-day shift until this is over. My street people and my court personnel is working with Chief Hadley with the county police to put extra officers in there. We will take care of them. We're not evacuating. We can take up to a hurricane category 4, and we're ready to stay where we at. So just want to let the loved ones know who has family members in the detention center that they will be well taken care of. If they need to go to the doctor, we're going to keep our regular protocol as we do every day. So just want to let everybody know that they are fine and there's nothing going to happen to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mayor Don Bethune with Garden City would like to say a few things on behalf of his municipality.
Thank you, Dennis. I'd like to thank Chairman Scott, Dennis Jones, and CEMA for all their help in this event. I'd also like to recognize our municipal partners because we've been in lockstep agreement on all decisions made thus far. I have a couple of things I'd like to announce that concerns Garden City. Number one, our City Hall will be closed Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's yet to be determined as to if we'll be open on Friday. However, we have some of our police officers monitoring the phones at City Hall between 8 and 5 each day. If you would limit those calls to strictly calls on the hurricane, don't ask them about a water bill or anything like that. I will tell you the number one call is about court tomorrow. Court tomorrow has been suspended. So if you just monitor our website, you'll see when court starts back up. Our sanitation has been canceled until further notice. We'll be notified by that courier when it starts back up again. I just left our sand pile and sandbags in front of City Hall a short time ago on Dean Forest Road, 100 Central Avenue. We had a number of people loading up sand and sandbags, so I would encourage any of our residents to come out and take some of our sand away from it. So I just asked everyone to heed the CEMA's direction and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also have the mayor from Thunderbolt, Mayor Beth Godey. She wants to speak on behalf of Thunderbolt.
Good afternoon. Our critical operations staff members have been in preparation mode for the past few days and will be on standby throughout the duration of the storm and aftermath if necessary. Our Public Works Department will have at their location bag your own sandbags that are available between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. today. Our Chief Clayton, Police Chief Clayton, along with his police officers, will be on duty starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., along with the Fire Chief Bateman and his staff. Our Public Works Department Head, Mr. Crosby, and his staff will be on duty at 12 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. The Town Hall, the Senior Citizens Facility, and all town parks will be closed until further notice. Chief Clayton and his officers will be enforcing a daily curfew starting today at 9 o'clock p.m. until 6 a.m. until further notice. Our town website is being continuously updated for our residents to refer to for information. I'd like to thank Dennis Jones and his CEMA staff and volunteers for all their support and information. Our town administrator, Mr. Neal, and his staff, and all of our department heads and their staff. For those of you who live in Thunderbolt and have chosen to stay, please stay informed and please stay safe. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We also have Congressman Buddy Carter, who would like to speak for a few minutes.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has had a part in this, particularly CEMA. They've done an outstanding job of organizing and bringing everyone together. But behind me, you see all the leaders from all the various communities in our area. And I think that speaks volumes about the preparedness of everyone and the concern of everyone. All this effort goes for naught if the citizens don't heed the warning. Folks, this is still a very dangerous storm. The only thing predictable about hurricanes is they're unpredictable. We don't know what it's going to happen, what it's going to do when it gets parallel to us here in Chatham County. So, and on the in the 1st District and off the coast of Georgia. So it's very, very important that everyone heed the warning of the emergency management officials, follow their directions, and make sure that you protect yourself. We know it's an inconvenience, but it's more important for everyone to be safe. But I do want to thank everyone along the coast of Georgia. I was in Brunswick yesterday. The governor was with us down there. We had all the coastal communities, McIntosh, Camden, Glenn counties, even some of the other interior counties with us. And they're all doing a great job. But again, it does no good unless we listen to the warnings and listen to the advice of the trained professionals. CEMA does a great job. The other emergency management agencies along the coast do a great job. So I just want to encourage everyone, make sure you listen. Make sure you follow the directions. This is vitally important. I know it seems like it's been going on for weeks now. It hasn't. It's been going on for a couple of days, and it's probably going to go on for a couple of more days. So let's all be vigilant and make sure that we do what we're supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. One of the big questions that we get on social media is about the curfew. And I'd like to invite Chief Hadley and Chief Mentor to come up and talk about what the curfew is and what that actually means for their jurisdictions.
Thank you, Dennis. Let me start by saying the Savannah Police Department is fully staffed. I issued a recall notice yesterday canceling all leave and all vacation for all members of the Savannah Police Department, so we're fully staffed. As far as the curfew goes, I want to clarify some questions and some confusion about the curfew. Curfew actually goes into effect at 9 p.m. tonight and will be in effect from 9 p.m. tonight until 6 a.m. in the morning. The purpose of the curfew is not is not to arrest people for violating the curfew. It's to give us a legal reason for us to go out and contact individuals who may be out and about in the streets during those hours and make sure that we encourage them to get to someplace safe. So that is the purpose of the curfew. We realize that there are other businesses and other organizations that have critical workforce individuals who need to be out during those hours. We also realize there may be some people coming into town who may not be aware of the curfew, as well as some businesses that may be open, and some of their customers may not be aware of the curfew. The officers will be using a lot of discretion in addressing the curfew, but the main purpose of the curfew is not to arrest individuals. It is to give us a legal reason for us to be able to contact individuals and to encourage them to go inside or to get to a safe location. Thank you.
Yeah, relative to the County of Chatham, we will not issue a curfew unless we make the decision to evacuate west of I-95. So it'll be a touch and go in terms of how the storm evolves and the decisions we'll make into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiefs.
I'd like for Lee just to instruct county employees about when we might open, and also, you mentioned that there's no courts, and the court will be closed.
Good afternoon. For Chatham County Judicial System Courts, for Superior Court Judge Friesman, courts are closed through Thursday. If there's a need, there will be, there's a number jurors can call, so that is on the website. If you would do that, county offices are closed today and tomorrow. We will decide, I'll be talking to the chair later today and early in the morning if we are going to close the following day or Thursday. But county employees are to call the number on the back of their badge. It's an 844 number, I believe. I could be wrong, but it's 844, Catherine? I always have to look. 855. 855, thank you. That's like bingo. But anyway, it was close. 855. So if they would do that, it gives you an automated message and tells you and gives you an update on services. We have been getting calls about Public Works picking up. We did do some things yesterday to pick up some larger piles that were already out so they would not blow into the roads. But Public Works services are suspended until further notice. And we may be back Friday, but it just depends on the storm damage. So.
Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for questions. You've got all the jurisdictions here, or most of them anyway, represented behind me.
Dennis,
So
you've got a storm that went from a Category 5 to now a 2 skirting the coast towards us.
Right.
For those folks who have chosen to maybe say, hey, you know, it's getting less destructive, I'm going to ride this out, what's your advice to them?
Well, we have the history of the past 3-4 years. We've had the history of looking at what a tropical system could do to our community. We had Hurricane Matthew. We also had Hurricane Irma that came through here. And, you know, the residents of Chatham County, they saw what type of damages we received from both of those storms. So this storm, it certainly doesn't compare to either one of those because it is unique in its own characteristics. However, if we receive tropical storm force winds, if we receive minor hurricane force winds throughout our community, we could see damages similar to those previous storms. In addition to that, this storm has a greater storm surge threat than what the two previous storms had, so we could see conceivably significantly higher storm surge flooding potential. In addition to the rainwater flooding on top of that and the king tides associated with that, we could definitely have some significant flooding issues throughout our community. You know, in emergency management, our motto is to run from the water and hide from the wind. Our evacuation order is to get you away from the water. We want you to be in a safe location. We want to make sure that people are not isolated because of water. And if you can take this opportunity to go ahead and evacuate your home and get to an inland location, we encourage you to do that.
What was the number of people who have been evacuated thus far from this Civic Center?
From the Civic Center, we've had 367 people as of 12 o'clock today.
Are you anticipating many more, or is that a pretty...
Yeah, that's about halfway through the evacuation period for that evacuation assembly area period. And we anticipate that after this press conference, we're hoping more people will show up. So we're prepared to support as many people as needed in order to get out.
Where exactly are they being evacuated to?
To facilities in Augusta.
Do you know how many people were evacuated from the Civic Center in Matthew?
We had about 2,200
Oh,
during
okay.
Matthew.
So you're quite low
Right.
compared to that.
Yes, we are.
Is that concerning?
There seems to be some confusion between unincorporated Chatham County and the city of Savannah when it comes to curfew. Can you just explain that one more time?
The city of Savannah has a curfew in place starting tonight from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Unincorporated Chatham County does not have a curfew in place. And the town of Thunderbolt,
Not as any of the other municipalities.
well, the town of Thunderbolt has a curfew in place starting tonight at 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Is that right, Mayor Beth?
Yes, it is.
9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So city of Savannah and the town of Thunderbolt are the only ones that have curfews in place at this time.
Chief, can I ask you a question? Is there some reason for this tonight versus in Matthew when we actually had damage and the lights were out? I mean, we have no issues tonight. I'm just curious as to why you have a curfew tonight.
Well, I believe there was curfew also in effect during Matthew, and I believe the curfew was.
After we had no electricity and no traffic lights.
Well, we want to be as proactive as possible and make sure we get ahead of this and make sure we get the information out as soon as possible and make sure we have a way to encourage people to stay safe and to get back inside in the event that we start contacting people when the winds or other weather-related issues come up during the hurricane.
So will the curfew be in effect on Wednesday night as well?
We'll be looking at reassessing the curfew and the curfew hours probably early Thursday morning.
Dennis?
Dennis, do you all have a feel for what percentage of A and B zones evacuated?
We're still assessing that right now. We don't have really good numbers on that. We know that the contraflow has been working successfully. There's not a lot of backup on the contraflow. So, people seem to be getting out. If you drive around the city of Savannah, you'll see that there's not many people downtown. So we're optimistic that people are heeding the warning to evacuate.
Dennis, with the storm surge, especially talking about our islands communities, Tybee specifically, I know I was speaking with the city manager earlier this week, talking about some of the vital services that could be affected by that,
Right.
sewer being one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Explain how, with that being damaged in any way, it would keep people from coming back on, how that needs to be restored.
Yeah, we have a phased reentry process for Chatham County. It's 5 different phases. Phase 1 is for life safety issues. We want people to come in and render the area safe. It's come in and make sure that it's okay for public safety to traverse across the county. Section 2 or Phase 2 is where they actually come in and they start looking at life safety issues, making sure they want to mitigate any of those life safety issues that we need in order to bring the community back online. Phase 3 is where we start bringing the community back online. Sean, this is where you're talking about those vital services. We've got to progress through Phase 1, 2, and 3 before we can let the general population back in, because we have to reestablish certain services in order to provide a certain level of care to our citizens as they come back in. So we've got to progress rapidly through, hopefully rapidly through category or phase reentry 1, 2, and 3 before we can let the citizens back in during Phase 4. So again, we got to make sure those essential services are back online to support the population before we start letting them come back into the county.
With the potential of widespread power outages, Dennis, what is the county or what strategic actions have been taken to put assets in place to restore the power?
Yeah, Georgia Power is the best at what they do when it comes to power restoration. They've already got teams in place. They've got a staging area already set up. Their storm center is already monitoring, and they're prepared to bring in resources from Alabama, from other states in order to come in and assist with that. During Matthew and Irma, they had a very quick response to Chatham County, and I don't anticipate that there will be any delays in them having a response in this storm.
Where's the staging area?
That I'm not aware of. I'm not sure.
Are they just all in that one area now, because before they went to certain places?
Right. They have a lot of their resources are staged in strategic locations that they call staging areas. I'm not exactly sure where those staging areas are right now, but we can find that out.
On the Matthew, they started out in Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
And then they started moving
Right.
stuff east. So, and they also use the old, not the new, but the old Savannah Airport area as a staging area.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Sheriff, I just have a question to answer from there. How many prisoners do you have in the jail?
1,866,
Okay. And what's your capacity?
2,396.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.